Okay, 3, 4, 8 people. We're definitely going down in number, starting with 40 something. But we're lucky that there's only 2 more left, because if not, it's gonna be completely empty. Great. Today I'm going to share a different link of the mural, because we actually reached the capacity of the mural to make it bigger.
Do you know that there is a version of Mirror Light? Which you can actually use for free.
Oh, wait. 1 second. Yeah. Okay. Can you repeat now?
Yes, that there is. Oh, I can hear my echo. Okay, maybe it will be better now. No. There is a version of not Mural, but Miro Light, which is like new version of Miro. So like maybe this will be good information for everyone, and you can use it for free. And it's not so heavy like with all the additional things. So it's a version actually of Miro, but yeah, open.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. I shared the link of the mural in the chat. And the proposal for the session today would be to make something very practical. As you'll see, it's the structure of the session. It's made into a canvas. For us to actually be able to design a co-designing session. Yeah, everyone is in? No, Nika? You're not in? Oh yeah? Okay. Okay, perfect. Then the thing is that today we don't have breakout rooms because we're not in Zoom, and with Jitsi we cannot do breakout rooms. Then, but that's okay. We can just maybe share here the ones that actually were capable of doing the exercise. We can just kind of share it in the big room. Did anyone try to do the exercise and was capable of like facilitating a meeting from a co-design perspective, or no one?
I have an agreement with my organization to hold a meeting to talk about the structure of the organization, but it's going to be first on a couple of weeks or something. But then one day, can you all hear me? Yeah, okay. Then one day I was talking to a friend who was telling me about a personal problem, and I couldn't help thinking about the iceberg model. So I kept asking her questions like, okay, I can see what you tell me, and why this, and what is the structure behind below this, and why and why this, and why this, and why this, until we came to like an understanding. She had like a belief of how things were supposed to be. And I tried to help her see if she could change this belief of how things should be, like at the deepest level, no? And we could both see it, that was meaningful. But it's better, it's easier said than done. I can see, because then you reach some subconscious beliefs that are very rooted in oneself. And I believe it can be the same in organizations, maybe, no? That then to change those deep levels of belief systems, then maybe you need some other tools, like, I don't know, some kind of coaching or some kind of deprogramming or some kind of like almost therapy tools to rechange these deep belief systems that we have at the root of things, no?
Yeah, I completely agree. Like that's kind of why in the co-sensing Cesar came with process work, because when you're down there, like, well, you can do it like many ways, no? Meditation, shamanism, coaching, process work, whatever, no? But definitely you have to dig inside, no? Deep dive to be able to get there. Yeah.
It was interesting.
Interesting. Awesome. Any other comments on this? No more opportunities to be able to kind of apply it. Because that's good, because with Eulalia, if you already have one, like the proposal for today is to kind of try to design a session. Then in your case, it's great because you can use like a real case. For the rest, I don't know if could you try to think about a possible place where you could actually facilitate a co-designing session? Yeah. Yes, in general. Nika, it's not clear.
I'm thinking also about my organization, but I'm just, trying to understand if I'm able to lead such a session in this moment. Yes.
Okay. Okay, understandable. Okay. Well, let's see. Like the thing is, like let's try to design it, and from there, the things are going to be a little bit more clear to be able to, if something pops up, maybe an opportunity pops up, and then you can try to use it. Yeah, but let's try. Okay, the first one, when you go into the beginning of the canvas, the first thing you need to know is which is the purpose. When you talk about a systemic approach, the entrance, the gate, the door, it's always the purpose. Like there is no other way to get in, because the purpose is what roots you into place and what gives consistency to whatever you're doing. Then it's like the north. You need to be able to, like, if you're in a systemic world, it's full of complexity and different dimensions, then you need a clear axis, a clear north to be able to know where you are, and that's the purpose. Then, which is our purpose? When you're like designing a community process, then the first thing that you need to have clear is which is the purpose of this community process. Sometimes you could even start like a process or a community process that you don't know which is the purpose yet, because you have to find out with the community, but at least or the organization, but at least someone is contracting you and telling you My purpose is to, like the mayor, no? My purpose is to generate more participation in the town. Okay, perfect. Then that's the purpose of the contract, but then we're gonna have to find the purpose of the community to be able to generate participation. Yeah, like that's kind of the anchor of the whole process. Like then. The other way, another thing that we need to orient ourselves is who is us. Into an organization, it's kind of clear because it's the people inside the organization. Even though sometimes it's not that clear. In a cooperative, you could have like partners and workers. Then are partners are workers us, or this process is only for partners? Or are maybe your organization collaborates intimately with different freelancers? Are they part of us, or where do we put the line? You know, it's like we need to define who is us. And a community is even more difficult. It's like the people who live in this community, it's us. The people that has here a second residency, it's also us. The people that works here but lives outside, it's us. You know, and the people that comes here in the summers. Right? Then where is here? You know, it's like, what are we talking about? This is when we talk about an organization. Where is the organization working? The scope, the length scope of the organization. It's like it's regional, national, international, worldwide. Like, where is here for the organization or for the town? When we talk about here, it's like, is it the neighborhood? It's the whole municipality? Are we talking about the region? But we have to define. It's very important to know where we are, right? And which is our bigger whole? Like, okay, we are an organization that maybe it's working with youth, then in a specific region. Then maybe the bigger whole is we have to define, and depends on the process. Maybe the bigger whole is the region itself with all the people in it, the community and the place, or the bigger whole is the youth of the whole nation. No, like we need to define again which is the bigger whole where we are nested in for the process. Right? Is this one clear? Yeah. Okay. Then I would invite you to answer those 4 questions in, you know, and let's say 5 minutes. And this way we can keep going this way, like, and then questions can emerge and we can move from here if that's okay. Yeah. Okay, let's go.
Oscar, I didn't understand the last question that you were saying. Who is the whole? Like what did you say?
Which is the bigger whole? Which is our bigger whole? Like, if you're working in a rural region and you're talking about rurality in our case in Catalonia, then we could work in La Garrocha in our case, but because we're talking about rurality, it's our bigger whole is the whole rural territory of Catalonia, you know. Or if we're talking about if we talk about an organization that works in a city, then the bigger whole is the city. Or if we're talking an European network, then the bigger whole is Europe. You know, it's like, which is the bigger whole? Like, you know what I mean? Like, bigger whole of the nested systems. In nested system, no, it's like, I'm part of my family is part of the community is part of the region of the nation, then my kid is part of me. Yeah,
it's a way to limit, so that you don't end up working with the whole world. No, it's a way to limit your target, or it's called your area of work.
Exactly. It's to make it proportional. It's like to make sure that you're capable of it, because if you're starting to like, my purpose is to change the world, and I'm like an organization of 5 people, like, you know, but it's like it's try to make it proportional.
But
Yeah.
I see it the other way around. I see it more like also to use it in terms of, let's say, localization. You know, you have like first locally, and then like at the bigger whole, you can also like relate globally, or maybe with similar communities, with similar organizations. So this is how I would use it to like to connect with others, also outside your country, outside your region, with with the bigger community.
Great.
I just have a question. Does the bigger whole have to be place based? Can it be like, I don't know, like subject based or movement based?
Yes, it could.
Instead of place based? Okay.
Yeah. It's what I was. Yeah, I realized that I didn't lock it. I'm gonna lock it in a minute. Yeah, it's just this thing that I was commenting. No, it's like if we're moving into systemics, then everything is related to everything, and if we don't start like defining limits, putting limits into places, the relationships are infinite, and then you get into a place of like too much interconnection. I don't know if you remember the resilience cycle. When there's too much interconnection, it's also rigidity. And it's like putting limits to be able to relate things to the other. But yes, it doesn't have to be place-based. How is it going? That's good? Clear?
Oscar, the indication was to answer to the 4 question in the first, in the first shape.
Yeah, in the first column, yeah.
Yeah, just the 4 questions.
Only
right?
4 questions, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Are you all done?
yeah,
No?
for me, I'm done.
You're done, Julie? Okay. Well, we'll wait a little bit. But
Oscar, can I ask something? Is the idea that you are trying to say is that in this session, for example, that I'm going to hold in a couple of weeks, would you suggest that I start like this, asking people to define these 4 things?
you could do that, or you could find out from a different source. Like, it depends on, like, in your case, if maybe things are clear, maybe you're like in an organization that who is asked, it's clear, even though I always wonder, is like, I always like to question things that seem clear, because when any participation process, I think that it's always better to make it a little as wider as you can. It's like the organization, it's only the partner. It's like, well, sure, maybe the people that works with us all the time, why don't they come and they give us their opinion also about what they think? Maybe if it's a process that lasts several sessions, maybe they don't have to come every session, but one, why not? Or our clients, or the producers of the consumer scope, why don't they come and they contribute to the strategic plan in one session instead of being only ourselves? Like, to make it more open. Then the us, it's very relative. The here, maybe it's more clear, but it's also interesting to define it. And the bigger whole, it's something that it's related to the purpose, no? Because from the same place you can have different bigger wholes. Then it depends on the purpose. Then it's also interesting to ask it, because maybe it's not as easy to grasp as it could seem. Then I guess the easy answer is yes, I would ask them for the 4 questions.
But is it something that you, in your case, when you go out and help organizations like this, have you got like a checklist that you always do? Is that one of the things that you always do, for example, or does it depend very much on who you're talking with?
It's not like a checklist, but I definitely, if I don't know those things, because the person that contracted me didn't give me the information already, then I'm gonna ask it. Like, it's like those 4 things are, as I said, really basic to be able to design anything. If you don't know that for sure, you're gonna have a conflict in the future, because you're gonna be like, if you're facilitating a co-designing process, you're gonna be assuming something, and if there's people assuming something different, then there's gonna be a lot of misunderstandings, and and some tensions in the process, but because like, whoa, I'm proposing this, you're proposing that, this is not coherent, you know. Then if we focus, then it's way easier that the creative process is much more fluid.
Can I jump in?
Yep.
I see it like so very useful. I have like a similar set of questions. For example, now I'm thinking about using this one with there's some NGO, they called me Maya, we want to boost our social media, blah blah blah, whatever. But at the end, they don't have like communication strategy. And then you come to the point, like to let's say to the deeper structure, why it is like it is, because they work also with voluntary volunteers, and this is like organization that already exists more than 10 years. But the thing is that new people come into the organization and then they let them, I don't know, run social media. They lost like this one. What is the purpose of the organization? What do we have to communicate? So I see this, how to start like this co-creative process also of, let's say, communication strategy with this framework, because you can always also when you want to communicate as an organization, as a community, you can always go back and find your, as you said, Oscar, your north. So it's so important like to have it.
Thank you. Cool, then if we got that part, let's move into the next. The next one would be, we need to find out if our purpose, like there's three nested systems, no? Like when you work systemically, you normally work in three nested systems. The first one is always me, the second one is always the collective, and the third one is always the bigger whole. Then if there's the purpose needs to be coherent. Like in an organization, it's very clear. It's like, if I work in a consumer scope, my purpose to be able to work in that consumer scope needs to be coherent with the consumer scope, and needs to be coherent with the bigger whole. If it's not coherent with the consumer scope, then I'm going to have a conflict. I'm clearly going to have a conflict one moment or another. If we take that to a company, it's even more obvious, because you're going to find that very, very fast if the purpose of being in that company or cooperative it's not aligned. In a community, it's a little bit different, because a community purpose normally is related to place. Then could be, even though the purposes of living in the same community could be completely different and very diverse in plural, it's the whole going back to landscape integrity. Here it's a little bit more complex, because we have to start looking at landscape patterns and why the people it's part of want to live in that place, and it's part of that place. But what's really important is that the three of them are coherent, and it's interesting that you try to find out in the process. It doesn't have to be in the beginning, but in some moment of the process, you should find out if everyone is aligned. Like if you have, like for example, if you do like an iceberg, we're gonna go into that right after. But if you do like an iceberg and you find out the purpose of the organization, sometimes we could put like what we call a sociometer or a barometer, that it's like a line in the floor from 1 to 10, put the purpose of the organization in one side, in the 10, no? And that the people get close to the purpose, as close as they feel affinity to it, right? And it's like, I'm like, I love the purpose of the organization, I'm a 10. If I hate it, I'm at 1 or at 2, right? But then you can use the same structure to express which is your purpose to be in this organization, and ask how how compatible is it with the organizational purpose using the same structure of, or 10 numbers of 1 to 10? I mean, do you know what I'm saying? Do you follow? Yeah. Okay. Then this is very important, because if you have a person that it's his or their purpose is different from the organizational purpose, that person, or they have that conversation in that moment or soon, or to see if it's compatible and you can enhance the organizational purpose, or that person, or if that's not possible, that person probably should go, because it's going to be a problem all the way.
Sorry, Oscar.
Yeah.
I didn't hear, I was typing, I didn't hear about the numbers. You said something to classify from 1 to 10, was it? I'm not hearing you, Oscar. Is anyone else?
No, Oscar, I think you're on mute.
You are muted, Oscar.
Okay, now. We work a lot with systemic facilitation. Systemic facilitation means that what we do is to put whatever we work with on the floor. Well, when there's no COVID, obviously. And then we use masking tape. Normally, we can do it also with Post-it and ropes and things like that. Sometimes we go crazy and start putting colors everywhere. But normally, with a little bit of masking tape, you can do many things. And one of the things that we always have in a facilitation process is to have one scale. Could be just one line of masking tape with Post-its from 1 to 10. Or a line of masking tape with a yes in one side, no in the other, and one small line in the middle. Those things are like so useful, because when someone is like, I don't like, I don't know, because when you're talking about all these things, there's a lot of emotions involved, and sometimes it's very difficult to be specific. And when you have a lot of people in a room talking about theoretical things like a purpose and things that are systemic, then you have to ground it as much as you can. Then sometimes, like, I don't like what you're saying, or I don't like the proposal that you're doing. It's like, okay, you don't like it, and you're not capable of like find out what exactly it is. It's like, okay, just go to the line and put, if his proposal is in a 10, where are you? It's like, if the person goes into a 5, no, like you already have some information. Okay, there's half of the stuff that he likes, right, or that they like, right? But and the other stuff doesn't. Then you can start wondering, like, then what is it that makes you put in a 5 and not in a 4? Why is those 5 numbers that you actually agree? And then you have a lot of like, okay, we have a common place that you do agree in all these parts. Then how can we improve the rest? How can we make the rest a little bit more inclusive? You know what I mean? Okay, then that one is like very important. Try to find like some kind of in one moment or another, if it's the beginning of a process, it's important to know if there's a purpose coherence. Okay, perfect. Then we moved into the next one, into the next square. And in this one, we propose, which community process are we engaging with? How can we define this process? Like, let's specify. What is the process? What's the process that we're doing? It's like, the contract said, I want more participation in my town. Then the community process is a community, a process that it's to engage community and municipal participation. There's an organization, company or a co-op or an organization that calls you because they have a conflict. Okay, it's a conflict resolution process. We need an evaluation because our decision making it's not working. Okay, then this process is going to be an evaluation in governance. We need an accompaniment and strategic planning, or we need I don't know, hackathon, a co-creative process for a specific idea that we need to solve and we have no idea how to do it. Then this is the process that we're engaging with, right? Then it's very important to specify which is the process. Like, and as you see, we're still putting limits into the whole systemic thing, right? It's like we need to be putting a lot of definition. Just if you jump into a group process just like that, it gets really messy. Okay, next question would be, which systemic model will help the process we are co-designing? Like, we already know which is the process that we want to do. Then, which systemic model? Well, the ones we've seen are like the iceberg model. Iceberg model, it's very good for a structure. Like, it gives you, it's a classification of patterns, no? Then what that helps you is to structure a collective, a community, a collective, an organization from the root, no, from the purpose to the actions. But you can use it for different things. But like what's ideal, it's for if it's in a strategic plan. For us, we use the iceberg. If it's an evaluation, you're going to use the iceberg in 1 minute or another, because you're going to be like, for the diagnosis part, you're going to be looking at the different patterns of the project or the organization to see how it's moving and to really understand what's going on, right? It's like to find out how it's the structure. Iceberg model is really, really good. If you have any questions, jump in, eh? Okay. If the process is about change, it's about theories of change. It's about it's more like for example, in evaluation, in certain moments we probably would use the iceberg for the diagnosis. But then if we want to see where are we coming from, if we want to go into a storytelling, where are we coming from and where are we going, like that itself is a theory of change, then we would use the resilience cycle. When we move into time and into change, when we want to change, how, like an organization asking, how do we deal with COVID? That's a resilience cycle model, you know? Or in a strategic planning, you can use it too. It's like in a strategic planning, I probably would use the iceberg as the main structure, but then as a secondary structure, I probably would use the resilience cycle in one moment or another to be able to see long term. How are we moving? Where are we in this point? It's to understand how we're dealing with change. In which moment are we in relation to the context? Yeah? Second one, to bring value to whatever we're doing. That's a regenerative spiral thing. It's like regenerative spiral, it's a model that you can have. You can base a whole session on it, or you can have it on the floor and use it some specific times in a session. The regenerative spiral, it's always like, if you see that the people, it's very self-limiting. If the people, they're not ambitious enough, you know. And when I say ambitious, I'm not talking about individual ambitions. I'm talking about collective ambition. Then you need regenerative spiral. You need to bring up the potential. You need to bring energy into the system. You need the people to dream that things are possible. That if you feel like a structural violence it's really strong and the people it's caught in a lot of limits, then regenerative spiral is great because it makes them, it's like a mirror that makes them look at themselves and realize that they're stuck, and that if they're not going higher, it's just because they don't want to, but nothing is limiting them but themselves. Yeah. The edge of chaos. The edge of, we also seen the edge of chaos, that it's to move into more complexity. No, like you probably cannot base a full session on the edge of chaos. Or maybe you could. Yes, I guess you could. But it's not something that you would do normally. Like the edge of chaos, it's if you want to, with a community or with an organization, if you have a lot of like polarization, the edge of chaos is great. Like to work with different types of polarization and to understand that the complexity of the organization is going to come with through inclusivity, through bringing the two poles together in a reconciliatory process, like bringing up complexity. Right. The next one, it's the VUCA context. It's on how to take a crisis and make it into opportunities. That one is quite straightforward. The medicine wheel, we don't use it much because normally we use it sometimes, but I feel at least in Catalonia, people, it's not super ready for the medicine wheel. Maybe it still sounds a little bit too holistic for a lot of people. And it's like, what? Or it's too hippie, or it's too complex, or it's too something, but it doesn't. It's like, well, we're going to have to wait. And the last one, the pentant. The pentant, it's to look for potential. The pentant, it's amazing. It's what you can do with a pentant. It's like you have a group, but the group is stuck in something and they don't know. It's a little bit like the regenerative spiral. The regenerative spiral and the pentant, they can work really well together. You can start with a regenerative spiral to be like more kind of generic. It's like where do you place your organization, or where do you think that the sector is located in this point, in which of the levels, and then how do we go to the next level? Then you use the pentant for that, to move to the higher level. Questions?
I just think it's fantastic that now suddenly everything is coming into place. All the small bricks that we have been learning about now. Okay, there is like a wholeness into it, and now we can choose what to use where. It's super nice. Thank you.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. Is like, no, as again, you're in the middle of a systemic, interconnected world, and then it's like you have to choose which plane are you going to be working on, right? Like, and you have to give it a shape for the whole people that is working in the place to use the same references, the same names, and the same structure and the same direction. It's like, okay, I think you guys need an iceberg. You put the iceberg there. It's like, we're going to move in this plane all together from here to here, right? And because you start putting all these directions, like we know who we are, we know where it's here, we know which is the bigger whole. Now we're going to move into this structure, and then all the minds are like focused, like the collective intelligence is focused. No, it's like not dispersed, like that every single one in the room is completely thinking in a different way, with different intentions, with different goals, and like that's a huge mess that you end like living 1 hour later, and you know, it's like, and you didn't reach the goal. It's like, no, really focusing, even that it's systemic and it's emerging, it's really focused. Yeah, do you want to Go, Eulalia.
I have
Oh.
one more question. I'm missing like the how is it called conflict resolution. You would use iceberg model maybe also, or what?
Conflict resolution. Conflict resolution. I didn't put anything for conflict resolution. You could use. It depends on the conflict. You could use the iceberg model, definitely. At the bottom, sometimes at the bottom, we put the reconciliation model. Do you remember? I didn't add this one here. The reconciliation model, it could help you if the conflict is not scaled. If it's scaled, what we do is we call Cesar. Then he deals with it. He's like the riot cop of our cop.
But what do you mean with scaled?
Scaled that the people want to kill each other.
Ah, that it's hot.
Yes, that it's hot. When it's too hot, it's like, yeah, Cesar, please come in.
Oscar, I've noticed that in the mural we have this schema for reconciliation, but we've never talked really about it. I don't know if you could just spend a few minutes explaining it a little bit, because we had two sessions with Cesar that were great sessions, but actually, as Eulalia was mentioning, we do not have any frame that helps us structure ideas, and maybe that reconciliation schema could be this framework. I don't know.
Okay. Okay. The reconciliation, it's a very simple framework, very simple, and very important. Some people say that this is what makes the difference between the paradigms that we're shifting, no? Like from the one we're leaving behind to the one we're going to, and that makes the difference with that. The one that the old paradigm is about me, and the new paradigm is about we, right? But what makes the difference, it's the reconciliation framework, and we already talked about this, I think, but in a culture, like in a body, the cell, it's the smaller part, or in matter, the atom, no, it's the smaller part. Then in culture, the smaller part is a myth, right? Then that myth, the myth, it's one idea, one really small idea, and that myth, it's fractalized in the whole culture. It's everywhere. You can't even it's the water for the fish. You don't even know that you're around it, right? And then the reconciliation is a way of expressing that myth. Every single thing that you do, it's an activation, right? You want to do something, whatever you want to do, it's because you're activating something. And when you activate something, you're always going to find a restriction, always, right? If you want to build a house, the restriction is going to be that in that place there's only wood and stone, or in that place there's only clay, or in that place there's only straw, or whatever, right? But you're going to have a specific restriction. I want to build a house. Then my restriction is a certain materials, or the slope, or too wet, or something. Those are the difficulties. If I'm like a carpenter and I'm going to be working on a piece of wood, the restrictions is how that piece of wood works. That shows me I can do whatever I want in that piece of wood. What I do in the piece of wood, it's a dialogue between me and the piece of wood. Like what the piece of wood it lets me do in it, and I learn then if I'm really good at learning what the piece of wood is letting me do, then I become an artist, right? If I'm really good at dealing with restrictions, I become an artist. You know what I mean? If I have an activation and there's a restriction and I assume the restriction, then I'm going to go down into a negotiation. For example, this is very abstract. I see your faces.
Oscar, would you like to take like the old mural and maybe make some example for the maybe some words to put inside the 3 square that we have for activation, restriction, and reconciliation? Maybe some words to put in.
Yeah, we can go to the old mural for a minute and go into the. That's a good idea. Are you all there?
I am. I was wondering if this is related to, and I think so, what you explained some sessions ago, that when we face an obstacle, we should not go and just get in front of it. We should learn with it and then come back again with some added value, like when we have rules for the government, the municipality, and there are things that are not allowed that we would like to do. So we should just turn around, think a little bit, integrate, and then come back with some added value. Is it related?
Exactly, it's exactly that. It's this Aikido. It's the you're. I was putting like cases more like very practical, but yes, if you find like any difficulty, any obstacle to your activation, like you want to generate more participation in the town, you want to, but there's like a law that says no, you cannot do that. Like, okay, I'm gonna go to talk with the lawyers, understand how this is going, and what I'm gonna bring next time, it's gonna be much better, and it's gonna be completely integrated into law. Or we don't have enough budget. Okay, then I'm gonna go. I'm gonna find some fundings, European fundings. I'm gonna come up, and I'm gonna be bringing the money with me. I'm gonna be like, yeah, I'm bringing the project and the money. And what's the problem now? You know, it's like, give me another problem. If I'm really good, I become an artist on this. And then like any problem, I can make it become something with value added. Then the whole thing just keeps growing. There's no like when you find people that is like more pessimistic, that sees problems everywhere, it's like it keep in a way just feeds you with solutions, because every time that a problem comes in, you just go back with another solution and makes you stronger and stronger and stronger. Your proposal just grow in value. Then that it's the difference between that's kind of the I said that's the myth. It's the difference when there's diversity, when there's difference, when there's obstacles, when the attitude of like integration and bringing up value, or the attitude of being defensive and degenerating, it's the difference between the old paradigm and the new one. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
I think I know what you mean. 70%.
Okay, that when we when we want to go to when we go to work and we are sacrificing something, like that we do it because we have to, that is like we're not reconciliating with the difficulties we're finding, and that it's burning us out inside a little by little, and after several years or several months, we're going to be burnt out if we don't do anything about it. But if we find out what is it that we feel, what's that restriction that doesn't let us flourish in our profession, and we do something about it, we integrate it, then we're going to be way happier, and everyone is going to see that we're bringing value added to our workplace, and everyone is going to notice that difference.
Can I go?
Yeah.
I think that we came from that I asked, what would you use in conflict resolution? Isn't that where we come from? So in this case, for example, there would be a conflict, and the reconciliation approach would be that the two persons who have got the conflict, you would try to facilitate that they go over to the other's point of view and try to integrate it and come up with something, try to merge the two point of views. Is that?
Yes. The thing is that if it's not escalated, then you could just open it up and try to feel to make them feel which is the restriction, or like you can have a conflict, someone inside an organization, what is that you're trying to activate this, and why are you, how are you being a restriction for that proposal by exposing this or by doing that, why, and then it's like how can you two try to, when everything is so explicit, it's like how can you two try to co-create an emerging proposal that is inclusive of both. Like, but this needs to be in a co-design setup. If it's in a conflict, it doesn't work. Don't even try it, because they're gonna like put the frame into your head like that, and it's not safe. But if it's co-design, then yes, it's great. It's like, but it needs to be like in a very healthy moment, the conflict. Okay.
I had a question. I know at one point you mentioned, like we talked about if there was like a facilitation guide, sort of on how you facilitate those types of activities with different groups. I think we mentioned that at some point, but I forget. Did you mention there was one on a website or somewhere that you could look at?
We have the guide on the community, catalyst.community. No? Have you went into the catalyst.community webpage? Yes, you did, right? And there's a guideline there.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, then if we go back to the new mural, I don't know, do you want to take like, it's short, but like 3-4 minutes to answer these questions that we just read, like which community process are we engaging with and which model or models we would use in that session? Yeah, let's take 4 minutes, 3-4 minutes. it done? Not yet.
Oscar, I have one question. I really like the story of a place as let's say tool. Do you have any like additional exercises or maybe I don't know canvases for story of a place? Because I'm thinking really about, I really like the medicine wheel, even though you said that it's like too early for it, but like I feel that like joining medicine wheel and story of a place, it could work fantastic, like for the life supporting services, and also thinking about like community to root, like in we were creating the soil, and from that point, because I was Googling for the story of a place, and I don't know if this is like trademark of Regen. What's their name?
Regenerative.
Yeah, but they don't say much.
They don't say much. Normally, they don't say much. Yeah. We use a very simple dynamic with the community, that it's to do a story of place in a participatory way. That it's because, like, if you want to really get into story of place and you really have the time and the budget to be able to do it, that's one thing. But normally we work with at least us or for an organization, things like that. If you work like with the small towns, they don't really have a lot of budget. Then you can do a little bit of research, but you're gonna have to end using like participatory processes. One of the things that we do for storytelling over story of place is that in a systemic way, also try to, like, if we can work in a room that it's long, and then in the walls and in the floor we place lines and stickers that say that the first one is origin. It's like how your organization started or how this community started. No, that's the first one. Second one, it's the past. What do you miss from the past? What was in the past that you really valued and it's not here anymore? If you use that in a community nowadays, normally it's social cohesion. And it's something that you have to bring back because it's part of the identity of the well-being of the community or the well-being of the organization. It's something important that needs to come back. In the present, we use what's defining the community? No, which is the singularity of your community in this moment? What makes it different from anything else? In the near future, we normally ask, what's the potential? What's the potential of the community or of the organization? And then we have a far future that is 100 years or more. And that's specific because 100 years means that everyone in the room is going to be dead. Then it's more kind of a far future of which is your heritage, that there's no attachment to it. Like what do you see in 100 years? What's going to happen in 100 years? And when you put all of this together, you can get patterns that are very interesting.
Okay, great. Thanks so much.
And what we do we walk it. You have to walk it and talk as you walk it. Like,
okay.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. If the people is sitting down, and just talking about it, or actually you moved from origin to past, because then even you make reference to is like when you're in the present and talking about the past, you look at the past and you point at the past, or you move into the past. It's like, and then when we are in the past, how is it to be in the past from this perspective? You know, it's very good to be able to place it and to move in it.
Great. Now I'm thinking about how to do this online, you know.
Well, you can do it in a mural. You could kind of do it in a mural.
Yeah, but it's not the same, of course.
It's definitely not the same.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay, then next step. We would go into the one that says, what's the structure of the session? No? Now we have a lot of information of which is the process, where is here, who is us, and we have all the limited references that we need to be able to design the structure of the session. But to design the session, we added some points that are important to keep in mind. No? Define the purpose of the session, not the purpose of the community, not the purpose of the organization, not the personal purpose, but the purpose of the session. Like, as I said, in a systemic thinking, you always get insight through the purpose. Then if what you're designing is a session, you need the purpose of the session. Then you're going to have to keep in mind the purpose of the community in that session. You know, it's like, yeah, every single thing has a purpose. Then, the purpose of the session. Define the purpose of the session and design from a backcasting perspective. It's like, what's emerging? What do you want to get? What's going on in this session? No, you could even set goals. Which goals? What do you? At the end of the session, what are you expecting to happen, more or less? Like, then if you have that, design backcasting. Start from there and make sure that every single, and that's the next one, every single action needs to be focused to the purpose. Like, every single action that you design in the structure of the session points to that goal or that purpose, right? Like in facilitation, you can see many times like, let's do a icebreaker or a warm-up or a, like, good, great, yes, do an icebreaker, do a warm-up, that it's focusing you to the purpose. Just not like something that is like nothing to do with it. No, every single thing that you do needs to be focused to the purpose or to the goal, even if it's like a small icebreaker after the break. You know, if the theory is needed, not more than 10 minutes per hour. Like if you're going to be like introducing a model, just not more than 10 minutes, and that's even too much. Like 5 minutes is great. Like, try to explain, and more like organizations, 10 minutes, a community, 5 minutes should be maximum. Like, don't talk more than 5 minutes straight with the community, and more giving theory. It's like they're gonna kill you. Then what we do it, like if we have to present a model very, very fast and go into practice already. If there's questions that are gonna emerge from the practice. And when you explain the model, you explain the model to use, to be used. Not they don't need, they don't want, they didn't ask for the theory behind the model. They just need specifically what they need to use the model in that specific session. If someone is more interested, they'll come later in the break and they'll ask you about it. But okay, be as graphic as possible with the process and the theory. It's like, if like you can do the agenda graphical, if you can put a model in a poster, if you can, like whatever you're doing, if you can put it in the floor as with masking tape, like it needs to be as systemic, meaning place, like or graphic as possible. Anything that you use, an evaluation, anything. If you have the time and the resources, make it as graphic as possible. That is going to help a lot, because one thing is when you talk, the other, like we normally use 3 ways of if there's something important in a process, we normally try to make it in 3 different ways. We say it intellectually, we expose it graphically, and we make it participatory in a systemic way where people can be part of it and move inside the system. Then you can learn from for the people that it's more intellectual, for the people that it's more visual, and for the people that it's more kinetic. Like the 3 ways of learning are taken in count, and we all learn from the 3 of them. And it's a way that it keeps going in, right? And then it's use the 3 of them all the time. Don't try to control the process. Put the attention in catalyze what's already emerging. Like when we say at the beginning, we set the purpose and not the goals, because if you try to put a goal, then you can get too focused in the goal and push and manipulate the session to fit into your goal. And the purpose, it's different, right? The purpose it's emerging. Then if you're focusing on the purpose, what you have is to be listening all the time. And if your agenda says one thing, but you're listening something different in the community, then you have to be flexible enough to change. It's like, okay, I fear that what's going on, it's not exactly what was I expecting. Then what we're going to do is that we're going to replan the session this way. Does everyone agree with this? Right? It's like it keeps listening. If you don't listening, what's going to happen is also a tension with the group, because the group is going to be something is going to be emerging. You're not going to be listening, and people is going to be start like being a little bit more not engaged, or even rude to you, or even confrontative. Think and design towards care and participation. Like that, if you want to do co-design and want the people to be engaged, everything needs to be in the eyes of how the people is going to participate and feel cared through the whole process. And when we do an evaluation, we always ask for 3 things. Did you learn? Did you like the facilitation methodologies? And did you feel cared during the process? It's very, very important that people feel listened, cared, and if someone is expressing something emotional, it feels safe. Or if there's a conflict, they can express themselves and they feel safe, not judged. All that needs to be there all the time, because that generates trust, and trust is the base of everything. Use open space concept as often as possible. You know the open space concept? Did you heard about that? Open space is like some years ago, a Norwegian guy created like this methodology for participation, where it's completely self-managed, right? And you put like you have like an open agenda, and you can go there and place a workshop, a conference, whatever you want, like, and there's several places, and you say like place A, place B, place C, place D, and you put there the different places with different timing. Okay, I'm gonna take at 11 at place B or at B room, I'm going to do a conference, right? And I put it there, and other people it's putting other things, and the agenda is completely self-managed. Then at 11 I'm there in my room with my conference already, and no one comes. Well, that's a lot of information for me, right? It's like what I proposed, it's not interesting. Then next time I'm going to propose something completely different, or maybe I need to listen more or what the people really want, and I haven't really listened because I was listening to myself and what I want to explain to everyone, right? That's really cool to use self-managing or self-regulating patterns in sessions that people can move freely. That it's not like, don't create groups of 10 people that they have to stay there all the time. Well, you can do it you can do it, but as often as possible, let people move freely. then if there's someone that is very annoying or very dominant, don't obligate other people to be stuck with that person for half an hour. Like let them move around and go away. And that person at the end, it's gonna be self-regulating. The person is talking a lot or very dominant, it's gonna be alone and it's gonna understand that needs to be quiet a little bit. And there's a lot of self-regulation going on if you let it happen. And that pattern, it's gonna make that, like it's much more efficient. You're gonna have to work way less if you allow self-regulation. Creativity works better when restricted. If you want a co-design process, put restrictions. Time, space, people, a number of people, anything. But you have to put restrictions if you want them. If you give complete comfort, like, yes, look, right now you're gonna have a table and you have 2 hours to talk about this thing, and we're not gonna bother you we'll come back in 2 hours. But the first thing they're gonna start doing is talking about their whatever, like the soccer field, the whatever, but they're not gonna talk about what they need to talk about. And maybe after a while, like you have 10 minutes to do this specific thing, and then we're gonna go back to it, and after that 10 minutes more for this other specific thing. Or now it's going to be in groups of 2, and now in a groups of 6. Now it's like put restrictions. They're really useful. Makes that people people makes the effort, and that's needed and interesting. And don't forget evaluation system to monitor the process and your work. Yeah, that's quite obvious, no? But don't ever forget to evaluate as often as possible. Like if you do something, allow in a Slack channel for everyone to be able to say, complain, give opinions, whatever, like open the channel to talk about the process, the methodology, like a meta evaluation about how the things are going, and if they want to talk about it, then that needs to be there, because if not, it's not transparent, and also if it's a long process, that can generate a lot of difficulties if it's not open. Okay, then now the exercise would be, what's the structure of the session? Then if you first define the purpose of the session, and then do the backcasting. I gave you like a little bit of a structure already, a proposal of a structure, like an evaluation at the end. That sometimes it's as easy as placing a poster in the door, the exit door, where people put some stickers in a certain place, right? Something very easy. Or maybe like an evaluation could be something like, as I said, those 3 questions, and people go from 0 to 10, just position yourself, or with noise, like there's many ways of doing it that could be quite fast, but it needs always to be there. And the other 4 are quite generic, no? Closure, some kind of closure, a core of the session where you actually get what you want, needed context or theory, if it's needed. Normally you need it, at least to explain what's going to happen in the beginning, the introduction. What is it that you need to introduce? Yeah? I'll give you 5 minutes for this one too.
I have a question.
Okay.
Evaluation, we are searching what we're searching with the evaluation. So like, for example, if there is more than one session, maybe in the evaluation they want to write different topics, or like if they felt safe, or like what exactly, because I can think of so many things to go in evaluation that can be a bit overwhelming.
Yeah, that's why you can find your own way, obviously, but that's why, what is it important for us? In our case, what's important is, did you like, we don't differentiate facilitation from training because we think that like there's always a learning process. Then we always ask, what did you learn? Was it useful? The second one is, were the methodologies appropriate, and did you like them? Did you enjoy it? That it's like, well, one for you, it's like, do you think that this is that design was adequate for the session that we did? The second one is like, were we professional enough with what we offered? And the third one is like, did we take care of you? That it's very important, and we normally forget about that one. And it's like bringing, you know, the more feminine side into it. It's like, did you felt taken care of?
Okay.
And that they're capable of expressing those and say like, no, you don't look professional. No, you didn't let me talk in the whole time. Like, you're an idiot. Like, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
5 minutes?
Five minutes to do what exactly?
The structure of the session, to just fill in the stuff for the structure of the session. How is it? Is it done? More or less?
I feel a little bit stuck.
A little bit stuck.
Like, I don't know how to really go in real planning. Like, I feel because it's something that I will do maybe with other people. Like, I have a lot in many steps of this process, all the process. I have a lot of like point in which I have a purpose, but a personal purpose, and I don't know which will be like the common purpose. And then in the same moment, in the same time, like I feel like I'm designing like this process, this session, just to go in that direction that I have in my mind. And yeah, I'm always asking myself how to propose somehow like a personal idea to a group of people as a process. Like I imagine that session like it will be me um, leading people in my process.
When you imagine what's going on, you mean?
When I imagine all the session and
Well, now,
each activity, for example, I imagined like to generate more complexity, like to just to show the edge of chaos, for example. And then I imagined another pattern really similar to the iceberg one, but a little bit more NVC based, for example. But like I see it, because I have an idea of a proposal for the group, like I'm kind of imagining all the process of the section just to arrive to involve them in my proposal. I don't know if I'm clear.
when Regenesis talks a lot about imaging instead of imagining, talks a lot about imaging. Do you know that you know that there's a type of intelligence that it's like the 3D three-dimensional visualization that we have, that it's normally more developed in dyslexic people.
In
Dyslexic people, then normally it's more developed in this type of people, but we all have it, and we can all develop it, and it's like just to be able to image what's going on, and the difference between imaging and imagining is that what you're doing is putting images to a real process, to putting images to something that it's emerging, something that is very rooted. It's not like, oh yeah, I'm gonna imagine a flying elephant, but that what I'm doing is imaging the session. It's like trying to image the whole thing, and I can image the potential, I can image and when you do that, it's very easy to work from there, because it's like seeing this movie inside yourself where you can move things around, and it's way easier. Like for some people it's natural, for other people it's a little bit more difficult to play with these things around, and it's a little bit more challenging, but after a while everyone gets it. I don't know if you know what I mean. What I'm saying this, Julia, it's because Like if you're facilitating or you're catalyzing, you're clearly leading. You have a leading role. You're a leader in that moment. It's just that you're not an alpha leader. No, you're more kind of an omega leader. It's like because what you're doing is to try to give that you're a leader that what does it give the power back to the people just to keep it organized, right? Then you are a leader, and then whatever you imagine or image that it's going to happen, yes, there is a certain amount of manipulation. For me, there's always manipulation, even if the like neutrality doesn't exist, and there's always manipulation. Then I can't hear you. You're in.
I think that in me, like the inner conflict is because like I have a clear proposal. I mean, I have already a project to propose to a group, but in the same time, I want to involve people in the process that somehow it's already done in my mind. I don't hear you now.
Yeah, can you repeat that one?
Yeah, I think that the conflict in myself starts because I have a clear project to propose to a group that may will approve it or may will just consider it and then change it, and or may they will be it's a shit. And what I want to do, like with this session, is just to involve people in the process that somehow it's already done in my mind. So I think there's first like fear that doing the process, like involving people, it will lead somewhere else. And second, I think there's the fear that I will not, like being not really trying to manipulate, I will not be able to lead people in or just to show my proposal. Because actually I feel it's something like there's these two. One part of me will like just like a part of me knows that it's good to follow the group and not ask the group to follow me. And one part of me is like aware that my proposal could be really helpful for the group. There's this conflict.
Yeah, but yeah, and try to play with the restriction thing. Like there's an activation, then try to play with the restriction thing. But how I dealt with it, it's as I said, it's like first to be really detached of whatever the group is going.
Yeah.
To really like and that's sometimes difficult. It happens that a year and something ago I started facilitating a process in my hometown where I was born and where many generations of my family were born. And I couldn't. I had to step aside because I only go in the process whenever they really need me. But I can't be like I can like every time that someone said something that I didn't agree, I was thinking it. It was like, what you're saying is stupid. Like I'm not going to be thinking that in another town, but in my town, someone says something that I feel like it is stupid. I think it, and it's like, what you're saying is stupid. It's like from there, I can't facilitate. I can be like, oh yeah, tell me more about that. I'm not going to ask him more about that if I think that what he's saying is stupid. You know, like yeah, we heard enough of that. Yeah, can you say something? You know?
Yeah. The point is that it's a group of people that are really somehow close each other, because we know each other from, I mean, I know them from 5 year, but it's a group that has 10-year stories. But in the same time, there are some people that came just 1 year ago. So it's like something really delicate.
The other thing, the other thing, like the first thing is to detach as much as you can. The other thing is to be specific. Like, I do believe that everyone manipulates all the time, and the only way to manipulate in a good way is do like be conscious about it. Then, like understanding that there's nothing wrong about manipulation if you're conscious about it and you put intention. Then, in our case, we always manipulate, but we're really open about it. We manipulate towards resilience, regeneration, and social and solidarity economy. If you don't want to be manipulated towards those things, don't work with us, because we're going to do it, but we're going to tell you in your face from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And if you work with us, that's what's going to happen. In your case, you can be really specific and be like, look, guys, I designed this session and I try to make it as open and participatory as possible, but for everyone to know and to be as transparent as possible, my idea was this one. Then if you feel like that this is not where the group is going, let's express it whenever you feel like it's needed.
Yeah, like talking with you, I had like this other imaging that maybe I can like lead all the process, saying at first that I have already a proposal for the end and consider it as an alternative. Like we do this process that lead this proposal, and then if you don't like it, let's use all the process that we did to maybe make another proposal, or maybe accept this proposal. Like, I don't know if it can be like, I see like a pattern that is a walk, and then there's this possibility, and then there's an open possibility to everyone design all together. I don't know if it can works.
It depends, but well, I see two people want to talk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead then. If it's
No, I
related
just
to
want
this,
to ask Julia, like, do you think that you can do the proposal without the process, or like, because you have a process in a proposal, no? And in your mind, in the end of the process, you can do the proposal that you're looking for. So which is exactly the goal? To propose, to bring your proposal to the table, or to do this process and then see where you go? Or like, what is the purpose? Like, what is what you want to bring?
Yeah. It's about the Sicilian Plenaria of Permaculture Group. It's a 3-day event that we annually do, and it's like the most important event of our permaculture community in the region. And I proposed myself to facilitate it now. And in the last year, we approved a structure that is based on sociocracy, but we designed the model and not the details, So now, for me, the point is to design the details, and I'm trying to designing it, and with the help of many of the exercise that we did. Like I had always new ideas to how go focused on what we need and all the stuff that we need at this moment, at this story of our group. So I have a proposal, but in the same time, I know that we are a complex group, and I want to like check if my proposal fits the group and in the same time if the group agree with my proposal. So in these 3 days, it can be a good moment to do like a process, like to check if my proposal fits, and at the end, see if the group agree with the proposal.
Yeah, I feel to me, for example, I would also ask, like, can you read this proposal? Do you think it fits? Do you want to talk about it? Like, ask the group to. That could be also an option, that they read the proposal, that you make a proposal, they read it, and then you go.
Can I jump in just to like, I don't know if this fits in your conversation, but like thinking about facilitating sessions or trying to reach some goal, or I'm always thinking about that the result at the end, it's not so important, and I'm always trying to get rid of it, to have like a result. Oh, we did something, here is a work we did, because it happens so many times that you lead a session, you facilitate certain process, and actually the work, it's not done at that session, but like it needs to mature, and it comes up maybe, I don't know, in 2 months, maybe in 1 year. So I think it depends what kind of session it is, what are you facilitating. But for me, for example, I work with children, with students, and like having this mindset, this mental model that we always have to have a certain result at the end as a result to show it to others, it's important. I think it's not like it shouldn't be, because I think that we should lead as a facilitators or coaches, we should be focused more on the process and developing. Then I don't know, these are my thoughts.
Yeah.
So also when it comes to the system thinking, I work with system thinking. For example, it doesn't like at the end everybody is waiting. Oh, you will find a solution, I don't know, in 5 days. Come on, it's not realistic.
Yeah, I feel what you say, like to enjoy anyway, like the process, and focus more in it than the result. Yeah, but actually I would say it's our pattern. Like in each plenaria, we always decide something to try, and then we try it 1 year long, and then again we implement something in each plenaria. Or sometimes there are some plenaria in which just we give back what we did in the last year, and then we have just a party. I don't know, it happens sometimes, but this year I think we need like this step to put in the boxes that we approved last year, like the substance. Yeah.
Sometimes also, if it's like for any group that I'm part of, and I happen that I have kind of an idea, you also could try to be aware of what was your process of design, internal process of design, how you got to your proposal, and then design the session mimicking your internal process.
That's what I would like to do, but I'm afraid.
Okay, but like then you're gonna have to really be open for people to change whatever they want of the proposal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's difficult. But
yeah, like working on myself, I know that my real worry is just to arrive to tell how beautiful is my proposal, and then I think I will be open. Like my worry is just to arrive at the end of the process.
But I mean, you did a lot of work, right? You have been working on this for very long already. So, I mean, you can, for sure, like that's why maybe you can propose your proposal and then go through the process of like, look, for example, this is what I reached with my own. imagine what we can reach together, kind of thing. I don't know. I think
Yeah.
it's also important that you have been working on this. Your contribution should be also taken in consideration. You know?
Yeah. I hope so.
I'm gonna move on just to kind of close a little bit, and also I'm gonna share a whoa. I didn't look at any of the chat. There's like 45 messages. Okay. I'm gonna add in the chat. There's a just for whoever is interested. The Genesis is opening up a new course in Europe. For people that wants to go into systemic thinking, regeneration, design, facilitation, coaching, things like that, in relationship to many of the things that, yeah, I know. It is a little bit expensive, and this one is cheaper because it's fully online. When I did it, they gave me 50% of for free. I exposed my situation working for a non-profit, and they gave me 50% for free. Then they're open to those things. It's not cheap, but the value it's very high quality. Just a recommendation. And the last part of the mural would be, once the structure is done, define the time frame. But some people is like would start at the beginning, but this is like the iceberg. Don't put the actions, the thing that is more related to action until the end. Like the time frame you add at the very end of the design of the session, not at the beginning of like, let's make like an interaction of 10 minutes, then so I've seen people designing from there. Like then like something that is participatory for an hour and then closing is like, well, I don't know because it depends on the purpose, it depends on the design, it depends on what's emerging. Then the time frame comes at the end. Define the different roles. When the whole structure is designed, then you can be like, I think I need 2 facilitators in this one and not 1, or I need a note taker and a facilitator, or we need the different roles that you could use, or I need people inside of the group that take some roles because I'm going to be the only one facilitating, and I cannot be timekeeping and note taking and facilitating at the same time. That I'm going to have to share those roles. Like, define the roles. Which are the roles that you need, and who is gonna do it? Which are the resources that you need for each one of the things? It's like it's very interesting, as I put at the very end, to create a session plan. The session plan, if you can define the structure in the session plan with all the time framing, with a little bit of a synthesis of what's in each of the session, with the most important key things that you don't want to forget, with the roles, who's leading each of the parts of the session, and which are the resources that you need in each part of the session. All, if it's possible, in one single sheet or 2. It's like that, as short as possible, and that you're able to kind of take it and look at it when you're in the middle of the session to position yourself, be like, okay, next one is that, okay, I need that, yeah, I put it there, like, to make sure that you have all the resources that you need, and design the space accordingly. As I said, it like, if you work, like, normally when we get to a place, the place just looks normal, and after we prepare it, it looks completely different, because we move all the chairs, we moved all the tables, the walls are full of posters and graphic things hanging around, or evaluation posters, or whatever. In the floor there's masking tape and post-its, and also posters or things like that that are plastified and you can step on it, and like the whole room, it's focused to the purpose of the session. Then when you get into the room, that everything is moving. Sometimes even like it's a little bit gamified, that you start in one point of the room and you can finish in the other side of the room, and everything is pointing you to one place, to the purpose of the session. That there's no escape. Then to make sure that what you're going to need for the whole thing, it's going to be there. I'm going to need chairs, I'm going to need a whiteboard, I'm going to need this, I'm going to need that. And if the things are not available, then you need to find substitutes, no? Ways of kind of dealing with it. And the last thing, create a session plan. As I said, as short as possible, as graphic as possible, where all the information is in it, all the important information is in it. The first thing is like the simplicity. I don't know if you heard about simplicity, but it's like at the beginning you make it as complex as you can, and when you're already made it as complex as you can, then you have to make it as simple as you can. Right? It's like then you try to make it. Then it's where if you're capable of doing very complex and then very simple, then it's when you get elegance and professionality.